Welcome to Turning the Page, a self-guided Recovery Dharma book study course where we're going to go through 12 videos or so and go from end to end through the Recovery Dharma workbook. And if you don't have a copy of the book, get a copy of the book. Get a copy of the book. We'll have a link to a free PDF of the Recovery Dharma workbook in the description below. And you can also get them from online retailers fairly inexpensively. If you're not familiar with Recovery Dharma is a guide to recovery from addictions of all kind, whether you're suffering from addiction to alcohol, drugs, or harmful behaviors. Yeah, Recovery Dharma. It's a Buddhist-inspired approach to recovery from addictions of all kind. And in this series of videos, through the next 12 videos, we're going to go through this book from end to end. And we're going to, essentially be a self-guided book study course for you. So if you're new to Recovery Dharma, if you're new to recovery, if you're new to a Buddhist approach to recovery, all are welcome here. And in this inaugural or the first video of the 12-part series, we're going to go through the first chapter, which is what is Recovery Dharma? Yeah, that's a good question if you're going to start a program. What is Recovery Dharma? So, yeah, let's let's talk about that. Okay, so what is Recovery Dharma? What is Recovery Dharma is the first section out of the Recovery Dharma book. We'll also be covering the preface, or what I sometimes jokingly call the preface, preface, preface. I don't know, potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Anyways, we're gonna go through the beginning of this book. So we're at the front of the book. And the format of these videos is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to cover what is the major theme of any section of the 12 videos that we do. And then I'm going to share with you 2 or 3 quotes as far as highlighted quotes of various things that I highlighted out of my own Recovery Dharma book. And I will share with you personal experience from myself and others of 4+ years of direct experience working this program and helping others to figure it out themselves. So if that's of interest to you, I look forward to getting to know you a little bit better. So yeah, let's start off. What is Recovery Dharma? It's the front of the book. The first quote that I want to dig into, and it's on page X. That's Roman numeral 10, if I can remember my high school education there. On page X, what is Recovery Dharma? I love how it really does a great job of summarizing the program by reading, this book describes a way to free ourselves from the suffering of addiction using Buddhist practices and principles. This program leads to recovery from addiction to substances like alcohol and drugs and from process addictions. That's right, process addictions as well, like sex, gambling, pornography, technology, work, codependency, shopping, eating, media, self harm, lying, stealing, and obsessive worrying. This is a path to freedom from a repetitive and habitual behavior that causes suffering. Yeah, so right off the bat, that is the textbook definition of what Recovery Dharma is. It's a Buddhist-inspired approach to recovery from addictions of all kind. The part that I like and that I'd like to spend a little bit more time on discussing with you is the paragraph right after that that says, some of us reading this book may be unfamiliar with Buddhism or have not used Buddhist practices as a pathway to recovery. There might also be unfamiliar Buddhist words and concepts in this book. Yeah, a lot of unfamiliar words in this book. We also understand that what we present in this book does not encompass all Buddhist traditions, lineages, teachings, and practices. It doesn't, and may to some extent differ from your own Buddhist practice. Our aim is to clearly describe our path and practice in Recovery Dharma for people new to recovery, new to Buddhism, and for those familiar with both. That's right. And the last line before we get into the discussion that I really want to highlight is on the next page on XI, where it has the paragraph that begins with, our program is peer-led. We do not We do not follow any one teacher or leader. Yeah, I love recovery dharma. I love a Buddhist approach to recovery. A Buddhist approach to recovery from addictions of all kinds saved my life. It was a massive, massive, massive game changer for me. If you're new to exploring this path of recovery, I highly, highly endorse it. Highly encourage you to explore this book, explore this path. Whatever your addiction is, whether it's to drugs or alcohol or process addictions, as we highlight in that one paragraph at the beginning, I love that Recovery Dharma talks about addiction as addiction. I love the fact that a Buddhist practice and a Buddhist approach to addiction approaches craving addiction as addiction. There's no such thing as quote unquote outside issues. If something's driving you to drink, drug, and or harm yourself, then let's talk about it. Let's talk about those core causes. Let's talk about those core conditions. And I love the fact that right out the bat, in this book, it embraces the fact that this doesn't include all lineages. This is not an all-encompassing end-all be-all guide to Buddhism. And we'll get into this later in the readings. We also get into it in the quick start guide to the practice, is that this book, the Recovery Dharma Workbook, should really just be the beginning of your journey, not the end. And the seventh principle of the practice, which we'll get into a little bit more in the next video, is the concept of growth and continual growth. But the thing I really want to highlight as we talk about what is Recovery Dharma is, first and foremost, it is a Buddhist inspired approach to recovery from addictions of all kind. However, it's not an end all be all of all Buddhist traditions. And most importantly, is that line that says, our program is peer led. We do not follow any one teacher or leader. And you can also say teaching lineage in there. But that's the top level perspective. And I want these videos to be fairly short, concise, and to the point for you. And they're intended as a study guide for anybody who's new to Recovery Dharma and just looking for some pure support, pure encouragement here. One, it's Buddhist inspired. Two, it's not confined to any one lineage. There's many paths up the mountain. There's many paths to recovery. There's many paths to Buddhism. But here's the part I did want to emphasize. It's actually in the preface in page 9 of Roman numerals. That's IX. It's the third paragraph down that reads, this book is a collaboration from members of our community. It's intended as a supportive guide for those new to this path, as well as long-term practitioners. It's structured around the three jewels. We're going to be touching on that a lot in this course. The three jewels of Buddhism, which are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We'll share how we have used these teachings to recover from addiction in a way that honors what is wise and helpful to us individually, opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. And then it goes on further down on the next paragraph there. And this is the part that I really love. I have this highlighted in orange, which means it's extra important. It reads, our program recognizes that being in recovery also means healing. Yeah. Our program recognizes that being in recovery also means healing. Healing and gaining wisdom within our own social identities. We encourage you to adapt this book and create inquiries that may help promote healing, growth, and understanding based on your own identity and your own experience. I love that. I love the fact that this is a program based around taking refuge in the three jewels. We'll get into that in the additional videos. But the concept of taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and we'll talk about this at length, especially in the third video. Buddha being our inner goodness, our original goodness, talking about Dharma, the teachings or the practices, i.e. the book, right? And then also talking about Sangha, community, a community of support. Yeah, in a Buddhist practice, Sangha and community is so important. It's listed as one of the three founding jewels. It's one of the three things that we can take refuge in. And as you begin your exploration of Buddhist practices for recovery from addictions of all kind, there's this concept of refuge. Like, what do we take refuge in? And that's kind of a unique word. I know I didn't hear the word refuge until I got to Buddhist recovery. Is this idea that you can take refuge in, you can seek guidance in, you can take get protection from these things. But yeah, refuge. We'll get into that concept later. But I want to touch on that whole paragraph of saying it's a collaboration of a community. This is a collaboration of community. It's taking refuge in the three jewels of Buddhism, but it's very much, figuring out your path to recovery, finding out what works for you, and ultimately being a program of empowerment. It's not a check the box type situation, which honestly, I know I've run into a lot of people with in-person meetings that throws them off. The whole idea that, oh wait, you're going to empower me with my own recovery here. You're going to help me find my own path. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the idea here. But the third point, and this is the last point that I want to wrap up on, is found on page 11 in Roman numerals, XI. And this one I really do love, and I've already kind of touched on this a little bit, and hopefully you have it highlighted as well. And as you go through these videos, I encourage you to read the sections ahead of time, highlight for yourself what sticks out to you. This should be an interactive experience for you. It should be a self-guided Buddhist book study course for you, so you can go through it with a wise friend or an encouraging friend for you. The part that I highlighted in here that I really love is on page XI 11. This is a program that asks us to never stop growing. Yeah, it asks us to never stop growing. It asks us it asks us to own our choices and be responsible for our own healing. It's based on mindfulness, kindness, generosity, forgiveness, and deep compassion. We do not rely on methods of shame and fear as motivators. These haven't worked in our own past and have often created more struggling through relapse and discouragement. The courage it takes to recover from addiction is ultimately courage of the heart, and we aim to support each other as we commit to this brave work. And the paragraph I want to end on, it begins a little bit near the end there. This is a program that invites us to recognize and accept that some pain and disappointment will always be present, to investigate the unskillful ways we have dealt with that pain in the past, and to develop a habit of understanding, compassion, forgiveness, and insight towards our own pain and the pain of others and the pain we have caused. Acceptance with insight and compassion is what creates freedom from the suffering that makes our pain seem unbearable. And it ends with the line, this book is only an introduction to the path that can bring liberation and freedom from the cycle of addiction. The intention and the hope of our program is that every person on the path will be empowered to make it their own. Hells yeah. This is a program of empowerment. As we go through these 12 videos and we go through this book study, I highly encourage you to highlight what sticks out to you, what speaks to your voice in recovery. That take what works, leave the rest. It's a program that acknowledges that there's no magic bullet to recovery. This is a program of continual growth and a lifetime of recovery. It's a program that also acknowledges that some level of discomfort is going to be a part of the process. I will say that that is probably one of the biggest things I notice with the in-person meetings is that very often, like good little addicts that we are, people come in and they just want a spiritual bypass of sorts. That they just want the make me feel good meditations, and a lot of recovery, a lot of this book, a lot of this program is about learning how to sit, meditate, and be with whatever is present in the present moment. And we'll get into that in the future videos. This one was meant to just introduce you to the core idea. What is Recovery Dharma? The premise of Recovery Dharma is it's a Buddhist-inspired approach to recovery from addictions of all kind. We don't follow any one leader, one teacher, or teaching lineage. We take refuge in the three jewels of the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. We'll get into that more later. And it is a program that asks us to be empowered in our own recovery and to commit to a path of continual growth. Those are the big things that I took out of this chapter. I would love to hear from you if I missed anything in the comments below. And we'll close up on this as we wrap up this video. I would say that if you would like a little bit of an exercise, that if you and I were going through this book together, if we were doing this in person together, it's at this point, after reading through this chapter, I would ask you to write out on a sheet of paper, what is it about Recovery Dharma that appeals to you? What is it about Recovery Dharma that appeals to you? What is it about Recovery Dharma that drew you to the program? And then lastly, I'd ask you to write out, what does sobriety look like to you long term? And then at the end of this workshop, we can, kind of go through why did Recovery Dharma appeal to you? What is it that speaks to your heart about this program? And also talk about what are the goals for long-term sobriety for you. So again, I want these videos to be as short as possible. I'm a very, very long-winded analytical individual, so this is about as short as I can get. Thank you so much for your interest in Recovery Dharma. Thank you so much for your interest in these videos. If you found any of this of help at all, please like and subscribe these videos. Not for my benefit, but because it helps our ranking in the Google algorithm. It helps other addicts to find us. So thank you so much. I really can't thank you enough. In the next video, in part 2, we're going to talk about where to begin. Hey, you know what? That is a great question to ask at the beginning of a book. So yeah, that was what is Recovery Dharma. And in the next video, we're going to talk about where to begin. And that should be starting right about now, maybe now. I don't know. I got to figure out how to transition these videos. So we'll hope that I hope that figures itself out.